How you doing out there, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking that thumbnail over here at Peppielaview. I appreciate it. And once again, I want to say welcome you new subscribers, your new viewers, your returning viewers, and old subscribers. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for your support. We're still talking about Phyllis Hyman, right? Yeah. So let's just get right into it. Here you have Phyllis Hyman now. She is no longer on Arista Records, okay? As a matter of fact, we can say she had a 3-year hiatus as far as putting out an album, which is, by the way, it's not that bad, a 3-year hiatus, because normally 2 years, you release a record 2 years after you release an album. You wait another 2 years. So I guess it would be long, considering that it's 3 years for you to, release an album. But within that time frame, you're also looking for a recording home. And then when you find a recording home, then you put together the album, so on and so forth. So, yeah, we could say that it probably was time consuming for Phyllis Hyman in those 3 years. But this is what I want to talk about now. It's finding your sound. And if you watch the Diana Ross video, then you know that I talked about the fact that probably what hindered Diana Ross's career in the 80s would probably be her not having that producer, if you will, that really helped guide her career throughout the 80s, as far as music is concerned. It looks like once she found some success producing some of the songs on her own or the albums on her own, she probably said, well, shoot, if I can do it, why not continue to do it, right? And I'm having some success at it. And so she doesn't. Things are kind of off to me when it comes to Diana Ross in her albums. Her singles she released off those albums, especially that first single, I'm always digging. But sometimes, that entire album with her, I'm questioning it. Anywho, so then what we have here is that there are some artists out there who you just can't throw songs in their face and hand it to them and say, sing this song, make this song a hit. You can't do that. Some singers, they're too authentic for that to even happen. You understand what I'm saying? Like you're finding your way. So when I think about an artist like Phyllis Hyman and listening to the music that was being presented to her, the middle of the road music, and I like middle of the road songs. There's a lot of artists, who I like that I would consider middle of the road, white and black, honestly. But sometimes it just doesn't work for an artist or for an artist. And I don't think it was working for Phyllis because I think somehow or another, it just wasn't, we didn't get her being herself. To me, Phyllis Hyman is probably that artist where she just couldn't fake it. There are some artists who just can't fake it. Like, it is what it is. This is who I am. This is how it comes out of me. Take it or leave it. I don't know what else to tell you. You can probably stand in front of and try to make a singer sound a certain way or sing a song a certain way, and some people are like, And I'm not saying that she's not a versatile singer. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm talking about as far as authentic. I'll give you a prime example. Two divas we're going to use. We're going to compare, we're going to use two divas in the same scenario. Whitney Houston, I guess, and Phyllis Hyman. As cheesy as How Will I Know and I Want to Dance with Somebody is, the songs, like them, but at the end of the day, they're kind of cheesy. But there's something about Whitney Houston's voice that while you understand this is cheesy, her voice alone, like it evokes, it provokes, it like her voice is like, she is the singer that probably would sing Mary Had a Little Lamb, like put that single out and you're like, I'm buying it. Did you hear a voice? So you're not necessarily at this moment in time buying the song. You're not buying Whitney Houston's song. You're buying her voice. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's just that out of the world. But we're not saying Phyllis Hyman's voice is not just that out of the world. But there's something about Whitney Houston's voice. And I don't care who, that voice would never be again to me. Do you understand? Like there are some songs I know about Whitney Houston that I'm like, I don't like them when I really and truly think about it. But I am singing along with Whitney. But if Phyllis Hyman comes out and sings, I Want to Dance with Somebody and How Will I Know? I'm like, I don't feel it from her. Like, not only do I not feel her authentically, I don't believe her. Do you understand? Just those two songs alone. But now what I am getting from Phyllis Hyman when I'm listening to, let's say, songs like off of this album, the entire album, everything just meshes so well and perfectly together. Like this entire album to me fits like a hand in glove for Phyllis Hyman. You know, and it's unfortunate that, as I said, some singers need to have those producers who understands the artist and knows exactly what that artist need. And that's why I say, I'm just saying, Clive, you couldn't see the forest for the trees with this one. You know, trying to make her the pop diva as beautiful as her voice is, as full and compassion as her voice is, as depth as her voice is. See, you got Whitney. Oh, thank you. This is not product here. This is the real deal. I'm not saying Whitney Houston is not the real deal, but I am saying Whitney Houston is product. Oh yeah, I'm gonna say it. She's product. She can flip it for you. You know what I'm saying? Like she could turn it on, she could turn it on. It's just the gift she has when it comes to a song. But we have a different soul in front of us right now. And so when we get the You Know How to Love Me album, and when we get this album here, Living All Alone, this is where people, I believe, find Phyllis Hyman. I think that's where they find her. And they find her there thanks to these guys here, right? We have here Reggie Lucas, James and Tume, the first set of guys. Then the second set of guys, you have Gabble and Huff. Let's talk about these gentlemen, if you will, okay? Because you remember I said, I'm going to say it again, you need to find a producer. That's what I'm looking at with certain singers. You just need to find them. You know, I'm thinking about, see, I don't know why this stuff pops in my head. I'm not thinking of, it's not like, I mean, it just dropped in my head and I don't know why. Sister Act. All right, I use that as an example, Lord. Sister Act. Whoopi Goldberg, here's the choir, cringes. It says, ooh, I don't know, you need some work. But we're not talking about Phyllis Hyman in that way. We're not talking about Phyllis Hyman need work. We're not talking about Whitney Houston needs work. Follow where I'm going. Then there's one character in the choir, or actress in the choir, and she was like, "You need to come out the rafters." You need to come out the rafters. Come out the rafters. Right? And so then she takes the voice, Whoopi Goldberg's, and then tells her how to contain it and maintain it. That's what I think these guys did when it came to Phyllis Hyman. These two sets of men, these four men, I think that's what they did for Phyllis Hyman. And you just couldn't put Barry Manilow and say, all right, and have Barry Manilow just saying, all right, oh, it's so beautiful. And Barry Manilow is playing so well, and she's singing a song like, and it's just flowing out her. Okay. Oh, she sounds good, though. Okay. And we're looking at the total package and saying, but there's a disconnect to us. And we're not necessarily trying to make her an R&B diva, so to speak. I hope that's a good example. I hope you can follow with me, because right now that's all I can say, all I can come up with. Here's another example why I say it's very important to find a producer. And this is why I think that Clive Davis probably fell short with Phyllis Hyman. Patti LaBelle, okay? Gamble and Huff, the other set, not the one right here, but the one on the other side. How can I do this? I'm going to get this right one day. I'm going to get it right one day. But the other one, the one with the hat on, that group. Yeah, that duo. So, from my understanding, with Patti LaBelle, when Gamble and Huff had the opportunity to work with Patti LaBelle, I think that's what they also had in mind with Patti LaBelle. Like, hey, wait a minute, Patti, we love you. We know you can sing sweet. we know you. We know you got those powerful vocals. We just gonna take you out the rafters. All right. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you some songs. We're gonna contain that voice of yours. And we're gonna build up to, that climatic moment, climatic moment, climax. How about that moment? Where we go, and then when you get there, we still gonna let you glide through it. You're not gonna shoot all the way into the stratosphere. Do you understand where I'm going? They understood Patti LaBelle, what she could do, what she needed to do, and how to make that a hit. I don't think people was around Phyllis Hyman, that all of these people, such as, even Narada Michael Walden in 1983, with Goddess of Love and so on and so forth. You just couldn't give her any old material to me to sing when I listen to it. And I really and truly enjoy an up-tempo Phyllis Hyman song. To me, even when I talk about the Living All Alone album, I like the Living All Alone album as far as a whole. I do. But this album, I also miss that You Know How to Love Me type songs. And she has those in her catalog. And I'm like, I miss it. I miss it. So even the disconnect with Gamble and Huff, you can probably stop and say to yourself, like, Gamble and Huff, y'all found the safe place for her. But at the end of the day, for whatever reason, everybody was trying to stay away from this dance, disco type, up-tempo type music for her. And it seemed like that's her groove. And that's what I just still don't get when it comes to Phyllis Hyman. I don't know. I have not. I've seen maybe 2 or 3 interviews with Phyllis Hyman. And that will be, of course, when she released the album Prime of My Life. I remember that. I remember her being on BET. I remember her being on Video LP, because I'm glued into the television set at the time. So I remember all of this, her talking about, the divas in, well, we won't get there yet. We're going to probably do that next video. But anyway, so no one is understanding her. And now that I think about it, it could be frustrating as an artist, where even though you're probably getting sales with this album, and we like you with that Living All Alone, but this is the time when I think about it, when I hear Phyllis Hyman, and now everybody wants to talk about how she's so depressed. You see? I mean, I'm just letting it just stop right there. And I'm thinking about, now you have gone from 1977 all the way up now to 1986, right? It's almost about to be a 10-year period of recording where you're going through this back and forward. I'm not saying she wasn't pleased with this album. I'm not saying what she was and wasn't pleased. I'm just getting right now, talking out loud, putting the pieces together and saying to myself, that is a possibility in this lady's career. Definitely a possibility. And another thing that I appreciate about this album versus the production of this album versus the other albums, it seemed like there's an entire orchestra behind her. Like, the production seems so over the top, and somehow or another she's getting lost. Her voice is getting lost in that. She's getting lost in that. It sounds like it's over the top. We know it sounds good, but something is so very much missing. See, I like to think about, let's talk about Janet Jackson. Hopefully this will help you guys understand probably my point as far as the importance of a producer and understanding you totally as an artist. People downplay Janet Jackson's first album. They do. The very first album that contained her very first top 10 hit, Young Love. And then there was another single on that album called Say You Do. I'm sorry if you guys hear the noise or anything. It's raining. Thunderstorm. So they downplay it. And by the way, it was written and produced. One half of that album was written and produced by A'ngela Winbush, by the way, and her then writing partner and singer partner, Renee Moore. So they gave her first top 10 hit with a song called Young Love, and then another top 20 hit with another song called Say You Do. But people downplay that album. They downplay it and say, oh, her first albums wasn't successful, so on and so forth. And I'm saying to myself, they were. I mean, it was a top 10 R&B hit. I don't care what you think about sales and number placement, so on and so forth. I mean, I remember that album. As a matter of fact, I got the album over here. Her first album over here. Do you understand? But whatever the disconnect was with her in her first two albums, she gets with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis eventually, and then they start to see Janet Jackson as an artist. And they always talk about how they sat down with her, they got to know her, they got to understand all these things about her, so on and so forth. And then we get the Janet Jackson we know today. And Janet Jackson is doing all of that stuff, right? She's handling all kinds of music and all kinds of styles because she's a part of that. You see? And the same thing with Patti LaBelle. I go back to Patti LaBelle. Once people understood Patti LaBelle vocally and how to package that, from that point on, when we finally got the Gamble and Huff album, I'm in Love Again, with Love, Need, and Want, and If Only You Knew, when we got those songs and those songs became hits, That's when we started to see Patti LaBelle being recorded differently, because those were the hits, and they went back, and that, I think they have followed that model all the way through. And that's the same thing I guess I'm trying to say with Clive Davis when it came to Phyllis Hyman. Here's another example. So now we're in the middle of everything, right? When it comes to Phyllis Hyman, we're in the middle of it. We're in 1986. Guess who's coming out again in 1986? Guess who was out in 1983? Anita Baker. First solo album, The Songstress. Then Anita Baker comes out in 1986 with Rapture. Same year. Similar vocal styles, if you will. Do you understand? But now, if you listen to an Anita Baker's album around this time, I'm just trying to give you a point of view. I mean, a different point of view and a way of looking at it. It's just coming to the top of my head, right? These are just examples that are just falling in my head right now. And I'm saying to myself, like, listen to the production on Anita Baker's first album. Very rhythm and blues. Very much. That's when I made the comment that I was like, Anita Baker has handled some up-tempo songs before. What if not, if you like them or not? But for me and Anita Baker's catalog right now, I'm missing that. But Anita Baker has found an approach that works for her. So she's probably saying, well, I don't know, I don't think I want to handle that up-tempo stuff because it just wasn't successful for me. But as a fan of hers, I'm telling you, I miss it. And sometimes when I just want that raw and that grit, listen to me, I'm going to that first album to hear songs like, what's the name of that song? I can't think of the name of the song right now. But anyway, Believe Me. Yeah, Believe Me. Believe in Me. Mm-hmm. But again, it works for Anita Baker. Just to think about it for a second. Think about the rhythm of an Anita Baker's album, the rhythm. And then think about the rhythm of a Phyllis Hyman album. Then imagine Phyllis Hyman singing Anita Baker's songs. I'm talking about, like, I know you're probably trying to hear her voice, but I'm just saying these now are Phyllis Hyman songs that Anita Baker is singing. Interesting, don't you think? Makes you think. So there you have it. Phyllis Hyman, and how I feel like she just got caught up in everything. Here's another example. Now that we're in the middle of the 80s, right? Toni Braxton hasn't come out yet, but here's another prime example. You see how Toni Braxton approaches a song? Again, if I hear Toni Braxton singing How Will I Know, and I want to dance with somebody, I'm like, no, you won't. Not with me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Think about the songs If I Give You My Heart. I think that was her first single with Babyface, right? Give You My Heart. Think about the song I Belong to You off her first album. That song, I Belong to You. Think about her second album, is it Secrets, with the song You Make Me High. Think about those songs, and then think about Phyllis Hyman. To me, it seems like while we are getting some great material out of her, always great singing, and maybe we're getting some great material out of her, it's just never packaged in such a way that we can embrace it, all of it at one time in one album. It's not there. So now, as I'm thinking about it, her catalog to me now is very uneven. It's an uneven catalog. Wonderful material, great singing. You have some wonderful moments in it, but it's not an even catalog at all. It's like, okay, this is what we're doing now. Okay, so we're going to do this now. Okay, now we're going to do this. And I think she would have benefited greatly. I really and truly do. I think she would have benefited greatly if she would have, if she would have had someone to guide her career from a musical standpoint, from a production standpoint. Yeah. Interesting. I keep saying interesting. Yeah. I didn't think I was going to come to that conclusion. And we're almost about to get to the 30-minute mark. I think I'm going to do another video, but I think I'm going to wait. I'm not going to do another one. I want to sit on this one, kind of marinate in it and see how the next video is going to go. Yeah. Wow, this has been interesting. This has been fun. I have loved it. I'm enjoying it. I hope that you have loved it and enjoyed it. I do. I do. I so like what I do. But anyway, remember, over here, I believe in putting your behind where your heart desires to be. Oh, yes, I do. And remember, whenever I leave my mother's presence, she says to me, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. And I want to tell you I love you. Thank you so much for your support, and make sure that you're not only surrounded by love, that you are also loving yourself, because as the saying goes, how can you love somebody when you ain't even in love with yourself? Got to love yourself. You understand what I'm saying? Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing you all next video. I'm looking forward to doing the next video. And until then, you know what to do out there. Take care of yourselves. All right now.